Hey everybody, how's it going? So I'm in the middle of my dream shop build. As you can see, it's both looking beautiful and it's a complete and utter mess in here. And it's been about 10 months since I've actually built or made anything. I'm not counting this. This is all kind of construction stuff. And so I'm at my wit's end. I'm gonna build this sign that I've been thinking about for a little while. It's based on the Japanese block print that I made, I don't know how long ago that was, where I hand carved a bunch of wooden blocks. Each block was a different color of this design, this work hard, stay humble design that I came up with. And I'm gonna make a real life version of that. I'm partnering up with Minwax on this. They reached out to me a while ago to use some of these cool color stains that they have. I thought it'd be perfect to use on this sign. So it should be a fun project. Really looking forward to actually making something again. Let's get into it. I want to give you a quick little background on this design and the plane and the man who inspired it. The plane was my grandpa's, who passed away 5 years ago now. He was and still is my hero, and even though work hard, stay humble is a very common slogan, it truly was the way he lived his life, and when I see it, I think of him and I'm inspired to try to be more like him. He was a master woodworker amongst many other things, and it was with him that I learned about woodworking and really fell in love with making things. And we had a very special bond over woodworking and carpentry, but when he got sick with cancer, he sold all his woodworking tools because he thought it would be unfair to the rest of the family if I got them all. I did, however, get his number 5 hand plane, and so it's hugely special to me. So 2 years ago, I wanted to do a Japanese block print project, and I used an image of my grandpa's plane to come up with that work hard, stay humble print. It's one of my favorite projects ever, and if you want to watch it, I'll put a link down in the description as well as at the top of the screen here. And I also re-added copies of those prints back to my website, so if you would like to help support the channel and also get a nice piece of artwork out of it for your home or shop, then there's links down in the description for that. Alright, so what you saw me do was cut down a piece of red oak, I edge jointed them and glued them together, and now I'm cleaning up the glue line and flattening the board, and of course this is my grandpa's plane. I trace out the plane and then I cut the board in half so that I can use the bandsaw to cut the shape of the plane out. I'm using 1-inch thick solid red oak, and the amount of cutting and the size of the board would have been just too much for my old scroll saw, so I did this to be able to use my bandsaw, and later on, because of the nice straight cut on the table saw and the grain lining up, I'll be able to end grain glue it back together and you won't really be able to tell. This isn't structural at all, so end grain gluing is going to be plenty strong enough. I used some spray adhesive to glue my printouts to some more oak, and I'll be carving the stay humble part out from a single solid board, and then I'll be cutting the work hard parts out on the bandsaw. For the centers of the letters, I definitely had to have a little bit of fun and use my old 1800 scroll saw. Cutting through the 1-inch thick oak was a little bit of a challenge for it, but I got it done with these little small letters. I used the same carving techniques I learned when I was doing the Japanese block prints to carve out the Stay Humble part. Red oak is definitely not a friendly carving wood like cherry, which has a fine tight grain and is what they use in Japanese block prints, but I wanted the coarse open grain of red oak for the finish that I'm going to be using. Now that all my pieces are ready, it's time to take a trip to Lowe's to grab some of the finishes that I'm going to be using for this. And like I mentioned before, Minwax is sponsoring this video, and I'm going to be using some of their new solid and semi-transparent color stains. Now, they have several different colors already pre-made, but the coolest thing is their ability to match any color out there. They didn't have a pre-made yellow or a light blue that I was looking for, but I was easily able to find those right colors, and they were able to mix those right on the spot for me. Like I said, they have both a solid and semi-transparent stain, and I wanted to experiment with both, so I grabbed semi-transparent for the yellow, and I'm really glad I did because as you'll see at the end, it's really cool how you can see the grain of the wood through that nice yellow color. I really like the solid too. It goes on super smooth, and when it dries, it sits really flat on the wood, so that when you use a wood like oak with porous open grain structure, you see all that beautiful grain texture through the stain, whereas paint fills those pores and you don't see that awesome texture as much. Minwax also came out with several other really cool products. They have a new weathered gray and charred black wood effects, a grain highlighting and soft touch wax, which I'm really excited to do some experimenting with in the future. Now it's time to stain all my parts. This Minwax stain went on really easily and it dried quick and is very durable, which was really nice because I didn't have to wait all day before I could move on. I did make the mistake of doing the light blue before the dark blue, but I'll show and explain that a little bit later on. For this transparent yellow, I applied the stain and then wiped off the excess. Unfortunately, my camera died when I was in the middle of wiping it off, but you can see how cool it looks later on. Now this was the part I was worried about. How was I going to get nice clean letters on the Stay Humble part? My plan was to do the light blue first and then very gently roll on the navy. Well, this didn't work, and even though I was gently rolling, trying not to push any stain into the recessed parts, it easily got in there. Plus, on a wood face like this, you're supposed to pull some of the excess off with an applicator pad in the direction of the grain, which I wasn't going to be able to do by rolling. So I just applied navy to everything, and I used the applicator pad to get a really nice even finish. Later on, I added some painter's tape and recarved out the letters and then added the light blue back on top. What I should have done from the get-go was to apply the navy first, then after it dried, I could have put my printout on there, carved those letters, then added the light blue. The stain is durable enough that I could have used that spray adhesive and carved those letters out, and it would have been just fine after I removed that paper. Plus, it's super easy to add any touch-ups. It blends right into itself. And here you can start to see how good that wood grain looks through the stain. Looks really nice. After the stain has dried, I added a coat of polyacrylic for a little added protection. Well everyone, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and a very big thank you to Minwax for making this video possible. Take care everyone.